And today I'm talking to Sophie Comas from RIMU Marketing. Hi,
Yep.
Sophie.
Hi, good afternoon. It's lovely to see you today.
Oh, it's really lovely for you to join me today and talk to me about what you do as a marketeer.
Yeah,
So, would you like to introduce yourself?
yeah, certainly. So my name's Sophie Comas, as you said. I'm a freelance marketing consultant. So we work with small businesses to help them to connect with their ideal client. We work right the way across the marketing mix. So we don't focus on one area of marketing, but look at everything in total. So that might be from creating strategy through to email marketing, building websites, creating brands, social media, and pretty much anything in between that you can think of.
Oh my goodness, there's quite a lot to marketing, really, isn't there?
There is, definitely.
Yeah. So, would you? So, what is your background then? What made you get into marketing, or have you always worked in marketing?
Yeah, so my career actually started in the travel industry. So my degree is in travel and tourism. Went down to Bournemouth University, had a great time,
Yeah.
and then started working live for Travel Bag and Oz Travel selling holidays. I very soon realised that perhaps sales wasn't right for me, and ended up then moving over to First Choice as a product executive, and gradually working my way up within the team and within the organisations. So for those perhaps slightly older listeners, we used to create the winter sun brochures, those 200-page kind of massive bricks of documents to promote holidays. So before or just as the website kind of thing was sort of starting and taking place. Gosh, that makes me feel old, but there we go. So
Everyone loves a brochure, though. Can you still get? Can you still get the brochure?
I think you can.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think if you go into Maidenhead in particular, I think there's a travel agency there, and I think you can go in and get
still
some.
can pick it up and
Yes, I
feel
think
it.
so.
Yeah.
There's something really nice about the tactile nature of a brochure for sure,
Yeah.
especially when you're looking at holidays because it's all really exciting
Yeah.
and really nice.
Yeah.
So yes, I started there and then moved over from product into marketing. I also I'm a chartered marketeer as well, so I've got a postgraduate diploma with the Chartered Institute of Marketing.
Yeah.
So I got that whilst I was studying, and then finished that off once I started working.
Yeah.
So kind of combine both theoretical marketing knowledge and ability with practical advice, both from a corporate and small business perspective as well.
Because it can be quite complex. You've got to look at such a wide area, don't you, when it comes to marketing and focusing on the specific business as well.
No, definitely. I think marketing, as you exactly say, is so broad. I was lucky enough to be invited to the Houses of Parliament some years back with the CIM to debate the future of marketing, and it was a really interesting conversation. There are people there from all over the place, all different sectors, all different levels within organisations, and the panel kind of sat there and went, okay, so what we're saying is then that a marketeer of the future needs to be able to analyse data, track metrics, be really creative, come up with blue sky thinking, be a starter finisher, and everything in between. And we sort of all looked at each other and went, well, that's completely unrealistic because that person just doesn't exist. And that's really where I think marketing as a team is really, really important, because you bring different skill sets and different abilities to the team and to the projects that you're working on.
Yeah, absolutely. As you say, you've got to look at the analytics, but you also got to look at the goals and
absolutely,
and everything else. Yeah,
absolutely. And I think with marketeers as well, people often expect people to be really creative, to come out with innovative and new things, and that's absolutely right. But not every role in marketing requires that skill set. So whilst a brand designer, absolutely, you would expect to come from an art background, as you say, somebody tracking data or the metrics or working in a CRM tool or kind of focusing on that area, perhaps working quite closely with the sales team, you're obviously going to have different skill sets and backgrounds.
And there's so much that you need to be looking at as well. So the performance of your newsletters or the website. So there's so much, and everything else as well.
Absolutely.
Everything.
Absolutely. I mean, it is really advantageous because I think, when I first started in marketing, a lot of the activity might have been bus posters or billboards or magazines or radio or TV potentially, and that's can be really hard to track.
Yes.
I think as things have got more digital, whilst we definitely know that different media have different roles to play within the marketing mix, we can very much track results. So as you say, you can look at your website metrics, you can look at sales, you can look at open and click-through rates, or like, shares and comments on social media activity. So I think we're much more able to kind of work alongside the perhaps different functions within an organisation. So an accountant wants to show that the marketing is working in accountability. You know, so I think we're more able to do that now.
And you can also see your audience, because you need to be focusing on that audience, and you can see if you are targeting the correct audience, you know, the ideal audience.
Absolutely.
And you can see if it's men, women, whatever it may be.
Facebook and Meta in the social media world is a marketeer's dream, but I think personally you might find it a bit scary when you start to realise the data that's captured.
Yes, that's another kettle of fish altogether, isn't it?
It is.
The things that they collect from us. But as you say, if you're running a business, these are the things that we kind of need to know, really, because you know, if you're starting a business by yourself, you might not even be thinking about the marketing side of it. You just be thinking, I've got this business idea. For whatever reason, they might have never had their own business and left a corporate setting, or you know, might have just have an idea or want to have their own business, and not thought, especially if you don't have a team. So then that's where you would come in. I guess.
Absolutely.
It's almost like outsourcing.
It's exactly right. Our proposition is your virtual marketing team. So we do sit between that space where you're a small business owner, you know you want growth, you know you want to kind of elevate your business, maybe get to the next level, but you're not big enough yet to employ a full-time marketeer. So we kind of bridge that gap, and that gap can actually be quite broad. As you say, you could be firstly starting out, or you could be kind of, I don't know, 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the line, whatever. But you can, that's exactly where we fit that space. And I've worked with a team of people, so it's not just myself in the business, and bring in those different skill sets that we touched on earlier as and when needed.
And especially if somebody wanted you or to outsource everything or multiple things that isn't doable just for one person.
No, definitely. And I think that the trigger is often that as the business owner, you're overwhelmed, you've got lots of things to do, you perhaps don't know where to start with the marketing. You know, if you look online and Google what marketing should I do, well, I mean, it'll give you everything from creating a website, SEO, to print, to radio, to, you know, keep going on and on and on. You know, it's really hard to know where to start, because there is a logical process. You do, to get the best results, you do need to look at things logically. So we do need to make sure we've got a website, which is essentially our virtual shop front. We do need to make sure we've got a consistent brand identity. So we need a logo, we need a brand that fits around that. And then it's the consistency of messaging, not just visually, but also consistently across the different channels at different times. So there's a lot to think about.
And branding is, as you say, it's your logo, but it's everything, isn't it? It's not just your colours and your fonts. It's your whole business.
Absolutely.
Brand model. The way that
tone of voice, messaging. There's a lot to it.
And then is that quite a hard thing to take on? If somebody's created their own business and it's their baby, if you like, and then they're handing it over to somebody else to maybe write a newsletter or write a blog post on the website, you've got to do it in their tone, their brand, to be on brand for them.
It's an interesting one, actually. If you've got an individual or somebody that's very front and foremost within their business, then absolutely that becomes more difficult. So the way we work around that is often the business owner will create kind of a start point of content. So the way that we work with our clients is we kind of month by month we look at it as individual campaigns. So just to give you an example, for RIMU coming up in October time, then we're going to focus on email marketing. You might look at strategy in January. So depending upon your customer mindsets, we kind of create mini campaigns, if you like, that resonate with them and reflect how they're feeling. So that way all of that content in that theme then runs across all of the different media channels. So the way we work with our clients is that they might generate that original content almost like and it doesn't have to be polished at all, but it's just almost like a brain dump from them.
Yeah.
With their tone of voice, their view, their perspective, that then makes it a lot easier for us to then write the blog, create the newsletter, and draft the social media activity. Whereas if you've got a larger organisation with brand values and it's more removed from an individual, then that's obviously a little bit easier to manage and work with.
Yeah, because then you're talking about the brand, the company itself,
yes,
the business.
Yes.
Yeah. So RIMU, where did you come up with this name? RIMU Marketing.
So it's a great question, and one actually I get asked quite a lot. So you're not the first person to wonder about that. So when I first was thinking about setting up the organisation, I was in the process of being made redundant from my corporate career actually, and my story between transitioning between corporate and the small business world is probably quite a familiar one to many mums out there, many new mums especially. It became very evident after I'd had my second son. I came back from maternity leave, and it became very obvious that actually the working or the requirements to sort of manage a family didn't necessarily complement the corporate life. And I made a choice that I wanted to be there for my children. Not everybody makes that, it is the same, but that was important to me. So I was thinking of what to do next, and I was trying to think of a business name for my company. And I wanted something that was rooted in nature. So I wanted the analogy of the work that myself and my team in time, because I knew even then that it wasn't just going to be me in the business. So the work that we did put down really solid roots and foundations to then help our clients' businesses to grow and flourish. So the RIMU is actually a New Zealand hardwood. And it's the inside, so in my logo, the inside of the tree is reflected in the swirl of the design of the logo.
Oh, wow.
So the analogy is that the RIMU tree, we put the roots and foundations in place to then help our clients' businesses grow and flourish.
So again, that's your own branding, isn't it? Because as a marketer, you have to have your own branding and your own. Because is it hard as somebody who does marketing for other people to market yourself because you're so busy?
Yes, it's like the cobbler's shoes, isn't it? I think there's no question that any kind of promotion or activity for RIMU definitely comes further down the to-do list because my clients' work take priority.
Yeah.
But I think it is really important. It's something we talk to our clients about a lot, and I've always demonstrated and kind of almost showcased my way of working through RIMU Marketing. I always test new partners with working with them on a project first. I've always tested new ways of being on my own business and then rolled it out and shared things with my clients. And I think it's really important to do that. And it does always amaze me when I look around and look at other marketeers that not every marketeer works in that way. So not every marketeer has writes a regular blog or has regular social media activities. So it's quite interesting.
It is. I've noticed that as well. I've noticed that with social media marketers as well, where they're obviously very busy doing everybody else's, and then you look at theirs, and it's quite hard, isn't it? Because it's almost like they get judged because you'll look at their following and think, well, how can you promote all this and be talking about how to get your following up when you haven't got such a big following? But it's because they're doing it for everybody else.
No, that is true, and there's a big element of that. But I'm also quite a believer that you should showcase your work. So
absolutely,
I try to do that as far as I can.
Yes,
like you say, not always possible, and my stuff definitely goes to the bottom of the list. But
then that's the thing with small businesses or small medium businesses where we're all juggling, aren't we? All juggling everything. And for me, I do a lot of marketing anyway, because that's kind of what I do in a different way, because I have a platform and I market through a platform, but I do everything myself. And it is hard because you have to get the strategy in place.
Yeah.
And without that, in your content pillars, so sort of making sure that you know what you're going to be posting about and talking about.
Yeah.
And it's, as you say, it's got to be consistent, and it's hard. It can be really hard for somebody doing that by themselves.
Yeah, I do see that very much. And I think that's that's a really interesting point. I think the other thing is that people sometimes get scared by the word strategy and just think, oh no, that's for big corporate businesses. Actually, I want to just reassure any small business owner, it's critical, really. You have a strategy or a plan or a kind of identified direction, whatever you want to call it. But I think if you don't have that, like, this is what I want to do, this is how I want to do it, absolutely be aware of what your competitors are doing, absolutely be aware of the environment and the macro factors, but defining what you want to do and clear goals to aim for will mean that you're much more likely to achieve them. So if you're looking for business growth or even looking to drive brand awareness, what does that mean? How do you know if you've been successful?
Yeah.
And how do you move forward? So I think it's relevant for every business owner. Of course, you have it to varying degrees. So if you're massive conglomerate international business, it's going to look very different to if you're a one-man band, starting out by yourself. Of course, the output of that document is going to be very, very different. But there are very similar principles you can apply to both scenarios that just really define, how am I going to move forward? What does success look like? And how am I going to get there?
Yeah. Which also sounds like a big thing when you just say it like that, but you just break it up, don't you?
Absolutely.
Bite-sized pieces.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, set your goals in the short term as well as the longer term.
Definitely.
And things change as well, and brands can change, and branding evolves, doesn't it?
Yeah,
especially as your business grows.
Yes, absolutely. And websites too. Web and tech obviously is moving at a tremendous pace with the advent of AI and how people are using that. I think people are still trying to figure that out in some ways.
And it's moving really fast as we're figuring it out. So it's in the background, it's something else is coming up.
Definitely, 100%. So it's an exciting time to be in marketing, I think.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I've only started to use chat GPT to kind of discover my own website and things like that online, where before I'd just Google it, and it's like, actually I need to kind of look at where people are now searching. If you're talking about digital marketing.
Absolutely. Oh, exciting times.
And then when it comes to, dare I say, traditional marketing, when we're talking about print and magazines, and we talked about brochures and things like that, there is still a place for that, would you say?
100%. I think it's always been a more expensive way of connecting with customers, for sure. And I think even more now, being very considered in what you're doing is really, really important. But I do also believe we've come full circle. So whilst we are, as individuals, bombarded on a daily basis with emails, with pop-ups on websites, with radio, just the number of times we're touched by brands is tremendous. If you have something which is really nice, it's tactile, it feels quality, and you get something that drops through your letterbox, I think it's incredibly impactful. So the key is really to be very considered on who you're sending stuff to, what you're sending stuff, and what stuff you are sending, and the kind of the whole piece around it. But yes, I've seen great success with some of my clients in doing things like door drops. So I work with a personal trainer, absolutely wouldn't be relevant for every business, for sure. She was looking to target a very specific demographic and area, so we put door drops through people's letterboxes, and again, that's been really successful because she's got inquiries, she's got connection, she's connecting with the right audience. You wouldn't do it everywhere, you'd be selective on the roads and the places depending upon your audience, but for some businesses it can work really well.
It's almost like a personal thing. You kind of think, oh, this person's brought this to me.
No, and if the creative then reflects that too, brilliant. So I think I got something through with somebody wanting to clean the gutters or clean the windows or something like that, and that's almost like a handwritten note, and that's I think that's quite a simple, really nice thought and thing to do.
Almost like that sort of personal touch, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yes.
And then if you've seen something online, you might have forgotten about it, but if you've got it, even if you put it in the drawer, there was that leaflet.
Definitely.
Go back and find it.
Definitely. And I'm just doing a direct mail piece, just arranging a direct mail piece for a client that's rebranding. And again, that's really impactful to have some items talking about why they're rebranding, a handwritten note to those audiences. That's going to get a huge cut through for them, and again be very powerful in just bringing them very much to the forefront of mind. If you're selecting items like a desk calendar, so as as potentially a Christmas or milestone time frames, just having things with lots of branding on to keep you forefront of mind is really powerful.
And doing that rebrand, you've got to redo it all over again. I have rebranded myself, and I know it can be quite difficult, but it can be a good thing, because as you say, you're bringing everything back to the forefront. You're like, hi, I'm here, and I'm rebranding.
Definitely.
And then it's an exciting thing.
It's very exciting.
And people looking and going, oh, what is it?
Why are you doing that?
Why are you doing that? So there are, marketing, it's big, isn't it?
Yeah.
And some people, and I've met people who don't really have maybe business minded or really know much about marketing, and they just think that, oh, I've got a Facebook account, so I can just post on Facebook, a couple of times a week, or I'll just create myself a business page, and that's my marketing.
Yeah.
But it's much more than that, isn't it? You can't just create a Facebook page. And we're going back to strategy again, aren't we?
Definitely. That no longer works either. So it might well have done, I don't know, maybe when I very first started out. So, but actually the trigger for me, one of the triggers for me starting my business was I was doing some stuff for the NCT, so National Childbirth Trust. I was chair, I was volunteering, giving back after having some support from them with my children. And I'd met this lady, she was a reflexologist, she'd just moved to Windsor, amazing lady, and I was having a conversation with her, and she was saying, she said, I've been posting on Facebook, she said, and all of a sudden it stopped working. And I said, well, why don't I explained that I was in between kind of wondering what to do next. And I said, well, why don't I have a look at it? Why don't we sit down and I'll see if I can help you? Long story short, that was my first strategy session, and the rest, they say, is history. And I always credit the start of my business to her, because she really was the instigator to show me that there was a need out there, that people did need some help. And exactly as you say, that not everybody, to me, marketing is fairly logical, but not everybody thinks in that way. So actually there's a need to be able to help and support small business owners.
Yeah, I mean, some business owners would be quite overwhelmed, actually, because as I said right at the beginning of our conversation, people start a business and don't think about how they're going to get that out there to people. They just think, I'll just get a few clients and I'll be busy. But you need to get those clients in the first place, and there's just so many different ways to do that.
Definitely.
And is it advisable to kind of use like multiple platforms and multiple marketing forms, if you like?
The easy answer is yes.
Okay.
The more difficult answer is then selecting those channels which are right for your audience. So so we've obviously touched on social media, but depending upon your business, depending upon where your clients hang out, and that's an important bit, not where you like to hang out, where your clients like to hang out, is then choosing the right channels that help you to connect with them. So if you're perhaps a more professional business, you might look at LinkedIn as your primary audience. If you want to target a slightly older demographic, maybe with a female bias, you might be looking at Facebook still with a crossover into Instagram. If you're looking at a junior audience, you might be looking at TikTok. So there is, different audiences for different things. Without question, there are some core foundations that we talk to our clients about. So it's having your website with an online shop. Potentially, depending on the business, again, you might look at an app as part of that process too. You've got your regular blog articles. That's really where you can showcase your wisdom and your knowledge. That's where you can explore and answer questions that your audience might be having at a particular time.
And that's also good for SEO, such as search engine optimization.
That is correct. Yeah.
So Google likes an updated website.
Absolutely.
You do it regularly.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the consistency again. Thank you. Email marketing for me is always a gift. I always think we have a data set of people that overtly said, yes, I'm interested in hearing from you, so we can directly communicate to them. Unlike the social media networks, where it's the algorithms that make the decision who sees what, and depending upon how much budget you want to put into things. Email marketing, we can segment. Email marketing, we can put content directly in front of our audience. So that's really powerful. Social media, obviously, and networking as well. I think when we start a small business, it's really important to start talking about the business. You want to get out in front of people. And again, what networking works for you will vary depending upon what kind of business you have.
And your location, or how you run your business.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or where you run your business.
So they're kind of your foundation pieces, and they're the bits that need to be working really well. You could maybe add SEO into that, but that does feel like the next level up once you've got your website up and running. And then of course you can build on all of that. So you can buy email lists, do that with caution depending upon what business and your target audience.
Yes, because you've got to be really careful with the sort of GDPR and the opting in. People have to opt in now, don't they?
Correct.
So I mean, I do know that sometimes I do run networking events, and I make sure that everybody has permission to share their email with the group afterwards. So I'll send an email out with everybody I've made sure to tick the box.
Yeah,
I've got all their permission. I'm very, very hot on it as well. I worry that I, don't want to do the wrong thing.
Yeah.
And the one thing that I always say is, please do not add people to your email list without their permission.
Yeah, there's a bit of a grey area under legitimate interest with that.
Okay.
But you are right, and I think my advice to my clients is always, well, how would you feel if I did that with your email list? And actually, I think if you just randomly add people to your list, people just unsubscribe anyway.
Yeah, it's quite easy really these days.
So I've always taken the approach that be respectful of your data, treat people's data how you would want somebody to treat your data. And as long as you're using tools like something like MailerLite or MailChimp that offer free versions, if you're not quite at the point of being able to invest in them, you can manage the unsubscribe element as well. So
because that's another thing that's quite important to look at, that I mean, I use my MailerLite, and if you get to a certain amount of subscribers, you then have to pay.
Yeah, it's the same in MailChimp.
And so it's actually good to keep an eye on that, isn't it? Because if you've got people that are not opening them ever, you could ultimately be paying money, and you've got like maybe 50% of your subscribers are not even opening it. So you could actually just delete them off there. Yeah. Because you want the people that you want to be targeting the right people, don't you? The ones that are opening those emails.
Yeah, you absolutely want I always say you want a smaller list of people who want to hear from you rather than a larger list of people who don't. So there's no doubt that you want an engaged audience. That's kind of the holy grail, if you like. That's definitely what we want to be aiming for.
Definitely quality over quantity.
For sure.
There's no point, and even with social media, you've got the vanity numbers. I've spoken to other people about this, where I know people who've got 10,000 plus followers. How they've got those followers, they are legitimate ways, but there are ways of doing it. And is it a vanity number? Is it for vanity reasons why they want those followers? And are they engaging? So it's really good to kind of have a look at actually how many likes and comments you actually get into these posts compared to the amount of followers you've got. So it has to be quality, really.
Yeah, I agree with quality. I think there's a couple of things there that definitely it's the content. Think about the content you're sharing. So yes, frequency and consistency we've talked about a lot, but it's also making sure it's relevant to your audience. The other thing just to kind of observe is that sometimes there are some types of business where people might not want to overtly be engaging with you. So if you're a divorce lawyer, for example, you're a kind of organisation that people aren't overtly going to be saying, I agree with all of that, and I'm going to be talking to you soon because I want to talk to you about my husband, kind of thing, or something like that. So I think it's being mindful that whilst the metrics are important to give us a guide for sure, and actually if you do have a business where perhaps it's a bit more sensitive for people to be commenting openly, there will be other ways you can assess if things are successful. So if you put a post out and actually you get some private messages off the back of it, or you suddenly get an increase in spike of visitors to your website, for example, there are other more discrete indicators of something is successful, rather than just going, I haven't got 20 likes off that post, I'm not going to bother.
That's really important. And also you can have, as you mentioned before, with your Facebook, you can do that with all the social media platforms. You can have a look at the analytics. And I know Instagram will give you like a little dashboard of how many people it's reached, and it's like, I've reached 80,000 people this month, or whatever it might be. I've only had 20 likes, and even for me, I'll look at it and my analytics are very similar to that, where I might not get so many likes, but it's reached a lot of people, and I kind of feel like a bit of comfort in that, and I just think it's getting to the right people. That's all that counts.
Definitely.
And you've got to. People can get hung up, can't they? Especially when they've got their own business and they start to get quite anxious, you know, with social media and things like that, if it's not performing how they feel, or they're looking at their competitors.
Yeah, that's a really good point, actually. I think as a small business owner, being mindful of your own well-being and self-care is really, really important, especially if there's just you in the business. So that can be quite lonely sometimes. It can also be really hard, I think, to disconnect from the business. So actually putting boundaries in place that kind of say, okay, well, I'm going to work these hours, or, I'm going to do certain things. I spoke to a coach some years back, and she was just starting out, and she was trying to balance starting up her business with a 3-day-a-week job. And she said, I'm going to work weekends, and I'm going to work nights, and I'm going to do all of this. And I sort of said, that's brilliant. I love your enthusiasm and your passion to make this work. But just bear in mind, you have a young family, and when you get busy, you're not going to want to work in that way. So put the boundaries and parameters in first, almost define what your ideal week would look like, and work to that rather than just accepting everything that came. And that was a real light bulb moment for her. And I think that's important, regardless of sector or industry, being able to ring fence some of the kind of what's important to us, and making sure we're spending time with friends and family, making sure we're taking care of ourselves, or exercising, doing things that we like. Because then if we're keeping well, then that passion will come back into the business as well.
I mean, I even thought, it came to my head even yesterday. I was thinking, I was quite overwhelmed, and I was just about to start work, and I've come from sort of corporate-ish type background. I was a trainer before, but I've worked those hours, so I still kind of work in that way. Like weekends are off the, I don't work weekends, and I do put those boundaries in. But sometimes I think, oh God, so much to do today, and then I make sure that I break it up. But then I remind myself why I do what I do.
Yeah.
And I think, no, this is what I wanted. And I think that's really important, to take that step back and remember why it is we started.
Yeah.
They always say that, don't they?
Yes.
Remember why you started.
Yeah. And actually, I think that is really important. Something we didn't talk about when we were talking about planning and strategy, actually, is different people work in different ways. So I'm very much a kind of a list person, and I quite like a PowerPoint deck, but other people are very visual. And actually creating a vision board to define either the objectives you want to achieve, or what's important to you, or what the reward is, even if you're successful, and your why. There's a very famous podcast and book by Simon Sinek around, understanding your why. And that's really important to remember that, as you say, because it helps you when things get a bit tough and you think, gosh, why am I doing this, if you're working late at night or something. But remembering why can be, it's
and
really
what's the
important.
alternative? Stacking shelves and libels. So you've got to really think about, and you can even use that as part of your marketing strategy, can't you? You
Absolutely.
can talk to your audience about your why.
Yes.
And tell them, and people quite like to resonate, don't they?
100%. And I think that's really important, especially when it's a small business owner. If it's just us in the business, people like to understand the person behind things. And as we see AI starting to, well, not starting, is in full flow now with the content that's generated, where you have people that are authentic, sharing life experiences, that's going to resonate with people far more easily and quickly, I think.
I don't think AI can take over that or replace real people, and people are nosy, aren't they? And they want to know
they
who am I going to work with, especially if you are a solopreneur, you're on your own, or very small business. Or, as you say, a coach or somebody that you might be working with. You kind of want to know, you want to get to know that person. Definitely. And find out who it is you're going to be working with.
Yeah, for sure.
So they like to see those. So then again, when you're working with these people, that's where you really work quite closely with them.
Yes. Yeah.
If it is somebody that has their own business and they're fronting it.
Yeah. No, I mean, yes, I work very closely with my clients. And I have to say, I have some fabulous clients. I'm really lucky that they are all amazing. And I think they all do an amazing job at what they do for their business. And I think that's the other thing which is really important, that connect with people that give you joy, because then you won't feel like you're working at all. So, and I have that problem sometimes, actually. I get so into my projects and so enjoy what I'm doing, it's almost like, it doesn't really feel like work.
But that's a good thing though, isn't it? If it just doesn't feel like work. Absolutely.
Definitely.
you mentioned networking.
Yeah.
So you could do that in person, you can do that through Zoom. And I don't often think of that as being part of my marketing strategy, and I do that. But you're marketing yourself. So it's really good to kind of do things in person. So
Yeah.
have you got anything that's coming up?
Yeah, so we're looking to create some strategy workshops just to help small business owners to get set up and get kind of come up with a plan of action, really. So we talked earlier about trying to identify which media was right for them, what kind of channels, what kind of content, what frequency, what messaging, actually what does success look like, and even who are our target audience. And they're all the kind of things that we're going to cover within these marketing strategy workshops. I'm looking to try and set up a series of them throughout 2026 and beyond. So yeah, watch this space for more information. Really.
So are these going to be, so I mentioned sort of doing things in person, so is it going to be an in-person workshop?
It is, I think, yes, because they work much better. Whilst I absolutely think Zoom and online definitely has its place, and there's a balance to be struck between talking to people in that kind of space as well. But I think the strategy sessions, without a doubt, they work better in person. So.
And is that so that you can really have that one-to-one, people can get their teeth into it and you can really help them out? And
definitely,
it's almost like being in that sort of classroom setting where you're getting that,
definitely
getting all that knowledge.
Yeah, it's not just coming from me either. What I find in those workshops is that actually the other delegates can help each other really nicely, and that can be incredibly powerful as well. So I might have one delegate saying, oh, I'm really struggling to define my SMART goals, and you'll have somebody else to say, well, this worked really well for me and this is how I've done mine. So whilst I can share best practice and help obviously guide and just make sure that everybody comes out with something at the end of the process that is of value and is useful to them. And actually that's part of something that I want to include within the workshops. It's not just the day itself, but I also want to build in some accountability afterwards, because I think it can be so easy, especially like we were talking about earlier, if marketing is not something that's natural to you, it can be so easy to go and do these kind of workshops, to come away feeling really inspired and really energized, and you know what you're going to do next and you know where you're going. And then you get back into the day-to-day of everything. So what I want to try and do is to build in some milestones and some check-ins that kind of go, okay, well, we had today, it was a good day. I'm now going to check in with you in 2 weeks to make sure that you've said you've done the things that we identified you were going to do. And hopefully that means that people will then be able to actually use what they decide and what they create, and it's not just something that sits in the drawer for the next 12 months.
And that's a really good idea. And as a group, they could kind of, would you kind of have it as a group thing, or would you check in with them individually, or would you offer two different ways of doing that?
I don't know. That's a really good question. Any
you
thoughts and
thought of
ideas
that,
welcome, but I think there
it
would
could
be
be
value.
depending on the group as well,
Yes.
and how they click with one another.
Yeah, but I think there may be value in having a kind of a Zoom call that gives people the opportunity to log in and say, do you know what, Sophie, I've been trying to do my SMART goals, what do you think about this, and get some feedback. But then I think the value really comes in me helping you to develop your strategy for your business. So whilst there are definitely principles that run across everything for every sector, actually I want people to come away at the end of it going, well, I've got my strategy I'm happy with and I'm going to implement it because this is something I've created, and I want to make sure people get the value from those
it's
sessions.
more tailored, so it's not just a one size fits all, because we've all got our own different businesses.
Yeah, definitely.
So where are you based then? So if somebody's listening to this and they're interested in joining one of your workshops, and they want to join it in person, where would they be?
Yep. So I'm based in Windsor.
Okay, in Berkshire.
Yep. Windsor, Berkshire. Thank you. I'm looking at a couple of venues, but it likely might be over towards Beaconsfield in Buckinghamshire. So I'm not sure at the moment. I need to iron all of those details
out. So it'd be the Berkshire Bucks area.
Yes.
And then, but you don't do anything on Zoom. So if there was a call, so somebody was listening to this and they reached out to you because they wanted to work with you, but they lived in Birmingham, Scotland, you can still work with
100%. Yeah, that's the beauty of the digital world that we live in these days. I also offer other, a number of different packages that can help people to suit all different kinds of budgets. So as well as the workshops, I work with people in a one-to-one retained capacity, and we can work one-to-one to create strategies, or I've got a marketing spotlight product, which is where we just look at the next 3 months. So for some people, especially if you're just starting out and this whole marketing thing sounds a bit daunting and a bit overwhelming, then we can look at the 3 month spotlight. So we just go, right, the next 3 months, what are you going to do? What are the actions? What's your content plan? And we can just get things started and moving forward. Budget obviously will guide often the decision as to which way is the best way forward. But yeah, there's loads of different ways we can work with clients.
Yeah,
100%.
yeah. So what is your website if somebody wants to get hold of you?
So we'd love to connect with loads of new small business owners, and the website is rimumarketing.co.uk. So that's RIMU marketing, all one word, .co.uk.
Perfect. Thank you so much for speaking to me today, Sophie.
Thank you for inviting me, Emma. It's lovely to talk to you.
Oh, thank you.